At the Museum by Michael Signal. 1. Is it really that tall? Simon asked the guide. Of course it's really that tall, the guide responded. You're looking at it. 2. Wow, that's the rocket that sent people to the moon? Simon questioned. Well, Simon, that's not the rocket that went to the moon, the guide explained. The actual rocket that went to the moon was used up. It fell back to Earth in pieces. This one is a replica, but it's exact to every detail. 3. Simon couldn't believe how tall the rocket was. It stretched higher than any building he had ever seen up close. You seem impressed by the size, the guide concluded. Then he said, It's taller than the Statue of Liberty. Simon's jaw dropped. He had never really seen the Statue of Liberty, but he knew it was huge. 4. Can we go inside? Simon wondered. Inside the Rocket Museum? The guide questioned back. Inside the rocket? Simon questioned, hoping the answer would be yes. The guide laughed softly and said no, but there is a real Saturn V rocket in the museum. We can't go in that one either. Simon sighed in disappointment. The tour guide saw the look on his face and continued, but we can walk under it. It's lying flat, held up in the air with strong cables. Simon's attitude and face perked right up. Let's get in there, he said. 6. The inside of the museum was more amazing than Simon could ever imagine. There were tons of rocket replicas and even an actual capsule that carried astronauts safely home from the moon. This one is the real deal, the guide assured Simon. 7. When Simon's parents told him they would spend their summer vacation visiting a museum, he didn't think it would be fun at all. In fact, he tried to convince them to go to an amusement park or a water park or to go see an erupting volcano. The tour guide saw how happy Simon had become in the museum. Then he said, Your parents didn't tell you it was a rocket museum, did they? Nope, Simon replied. They sure didn't. 5. Read the dictionary entry. Noun. An exact copy or model of something, especially one on a smaller scale. Click on the underlined word or phrase in the paragraph that most closely matches the definition of that word. The guide explained, the actual rocket that went to the moon was used up. It fell back to Earth in pieces. This one is a replica, but it's exact to every detail. Simon couldn't believe how tall the rocket was. It stretched higher than any building he had ever seen up close. You seemed impressed by the size, the guide concluded. Then he said, It's taller than the Statue of Liberty. Simon's jaw dropped. 6. How did Simon's feelings about visiting a museum change at the end of the passage? A. Simon was disappointed to be spending his summer at a rocket museum. B. Simon was unimpressed by the rocket replicas he saw in the museum. C. Simon was discouraged to complete his science project. D. Simon was relieved to find out that he was visiting a rocket museum. 7. Choose 2 sentences that should be included in a summary of the text. A. Simon has never seen the Statue of Liberty and is planning on visiting New York next summer. B. Is it really that tall? Simon asked the guide. C. Simon was impressed by many replicas and actual capsules that the museum presented. D. The guide was curious about where Simon's parents were and why he was alone. E. Simon thought he will not visit the museum again and will convince his parents to take him to an amusement park. F. After visiting the Rocket Museum, Simon changed his opinion about visiting a museum during his summer vacation. 8. What inference can be made about the tour guide from the passage? A. The tour guide guessed that Simon had not known that he would be visiting a rocket museum, presumably because the guide had seen other kids that had been surprised by the rocket museum. B. The tour guide was annoyed by Simon's rudeness in the museum and did not want to answer many of Simon's questions. C. The tour guide did not know much about rockets because he began working at the museum last week. D. The tour guide knew Simon from before and was able to predict what Simon was feeling and thinking.